Grand Dawn and Great Rise in Cleveland and the rest of planet Earth. Welcome to another edition of 360 Information Network right here on AM 1490 WERE, brought to you by the Cleveland Observer, our voice in the community. Got a few announcements that I am going to make before we get the show started. First of all, there's going to be a great event at the Phyllis Wheatley Association today, and it involves friend to the show, Brother Wayne B. Chandler. It's called The Return of Feminine Energy, and it's going to take place from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Phyllis Wheatley Association. And you can get in on this. It's $25 at the door, $20 in advance. So you got just about an hour or two. You have to reach out to Erin Sneed, and you can use her Cash App. That's $ Erin, ERINNSNEED 3, or you can call 216-527-7079. Again, that is 216-527-7079. Also, at Larchmere Arts, we are going to be bringing African music to you, featuring Papa Suso, who's coming in from out of town to do this performance. It is going to be a great event, and it is going to involve Papa Suso, a Gambian griot. He will be here on Saturday, May 9th from 7 to 9 at Larchmere Arts in concert with Rhythm of Love. So Kofi Kemet, Baba Jubal, Ismail Douglas, they are going to be making some beautiful music at Larchmere Arts, and that is next Saturday at 7 p.m. If you want more information, you can dial 330-842-6773 for more information. Got quite a bit of stuff going on at Larchmere Arts this month, so keep in touch with us. Go to the Larchmere Arts Facebook page, and you can get more information about that. We have a great show lined up for you today. We got a few guests that we are working to get on right now, but first of all, we have Brother Lynn Hampton, Hamptonio, the founder and creator of 360 Info Network. Brother Lynn, if you want to go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yes. Greetings, everyone. Like I said, we got a good show for you today. We're trying to get it all set up here. We might have to just go audio with one of the guests here from, but as always, with African American community, economics play a big part. And we want to talk a little bit about finances, because a lot of times we can't get the conscientious dialogue together with people, because people always think about, well, okay, well, how's this history going to make money for me? How I'm going to take care of myself, and far as knowing my history and things of that nature. So dollars has always been a part, and also dollars is very instrumental in when dealing with someone having control of you, being able to take care of yourself, feed yourself, and things of that nature. So we're going to talk a little bit about financing. We always talked about your Bitcoin, and we talked about gold and silver and things like that. Well, what is just as equally important, and which they're not making any more of, is real estate, land, property. That's always been the hedge towards financial independency and actually just economic wealth is finance. And so, because the real estate, buying a house is, as they used to say, is the single most important or expensive investment that an individual would have in their life, is buying a house and investing like that. So we got two long-running experts that's going to talk about purchasing and buying real estate and things of that nature. So we're going to get them on and get this conversation going.
All right. Well, we'd like to welcome to our conversation Brother Henry Stoudemeyer. He is a very experienced person in the real estate game. He is connected to McMullen Realty, and he's going to give us some knowledge and wisdom and understanding about real estate today. We're also going to work on getting Charles Bond in with us, so we'll work on that.
He can hear us. We're going to do the audio with him.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with him off camera, so we'll do what we can to get him on. And in the meantime, I'm going to leave Henry in your hands. So, Brother Lynn, take it away.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My good brother, how you doing?
I'm doing real good. How are you doing this morning?
All right. I'm doing fine. Doing fantastic. Most people probably don't know that that we've been um, together for a long time doing this real estate business. I sold real estate for about 11 years myself. You know, we've been in the market. Your dad, you're following in your dad's footsteps at McMullen Realty, and getting it, falling right in his footsteps and doing that. And so but the real estate market and business has changed over the years a whole lot. I remember when I was in it a long time ago when the interest rates was way up to 13-15%. It was hard selling real estate at the time, but the property was so affordable, you know, at that time too. And I wish that I had the dollars, you know, maybe that I had now to get those properties for $3,000-$5,000 when the HUD lists used to come out and the VA list used to come out, and you know, trying to get investors to purchase those things. Man, that was you know, huh?
Good old days.
That was the good old days. I'm telling you. And then while I was selling to your father, always say, get those listings. So over the years, Brother Henry, what would you say, you know, how you see the market progress and change, and what are some of the adjustments that you had to make it either to stay in business, you know, doing over the course of the years? Because we know interest rates went crazy, and now at this time we got people from all over the country come try to flood our market and try to get into the game. So how could a would-be investor get into the game? So you could maybe start off on how the market has changed and your take on having real estate as a part of your portfolio.
Our company's been around since 1962. Over 60 years of rich history. Over the years, things have changed. I didn't get involved in the real estate as a licensee to 1979. Mm-hmm. And from 79 to now, we've seen a roller coaster of values going up, values go down. Interest rate goes down, interest rate goes up, interest rate goes down. Now interest rate is at a low, but is creeping up because of this war and other stuff going on that's scaring the economy. When my father started selling real estate in the 60s, you could buy a real nice house for $20,000. Right. Almost new. It got new. In Lee Harvard, Mount Pleasant, Glenville. In the 60s, not many of us could move to the suburbs because they wouldn't allow us to. Mm-hmm. In the 70s, we started moving everywhere. Mm-hmm.
Is that what the white flight we talking about?
Okay. When we started moving in, they started moving out. Because they can't hold us back. When we make a decision to do something, especially buying a house, there's nobody that can hold us back if that's what we want to do. And that's been our motto of trying to help people buy homes, help their families and friends buy homes, be part of the American dream of home ownership. And for a lot of people, it's been very, very successful for them to own a home and raise their family in. Stability makes the children do good in school. Instability, moving every couple of years from one place to the next, causes a lot of our children not to be successful. And now, of course, rents are so high now that it's outrageously high. So to own a house is cheaper than paying rent. So things have changed. We've seen a roller coaster ride. But at the end of the day, everybody from Wall Street to the guy at Berkshire Hathaway, they're all preaching the same thing. Own real estate, get some real estate. And our real estate in Cleveland, because our economy is somewhat stable, our real estate prices have been notoriously low compared to New York or Boston or LA. Look, they can buy a house and move in a house, and it still may be a house that's in good shape for $100,000 still. But to rent something for $1,500 to $2,000, that doesn't make sense. But that's what a lot of people are doing.
Right. That's what I heard. I remember getting into conversations with some, one of the commanders and stuff that I was working for. And, when we talk about discrimination and things of that nature, people don't really know how deep that goes far as the purchasing and the real estate markets. They wouldn't give us VA loans. They tried to, with the Democrats, try to come up with the FHA in order to allow us to have, to get into the housing market. And so it's always been an issue getting into it. So I remember a conversation, and I was talking about, the discriminatory methods, and that's still out here. And some of the commanders, well, it's not happening today. I could go to Beechwood and buy anything that I want and all this old stuff, and I mentioned it a little bit in my book talking about it. But even if things are a little bit better now, those seeds that they planted way back then when we couldn't get into the game, different ethnic groups are still profiting for it. And I give you an example that I gave in the book. Let's say during that time when you said Lee Harvard, you can get in for about $20,000. Well, think about those people who's getting 50, 75,000 and was buying houses in Beechwood back at that time. Okay. Now those houses worth $500,000 or things of that nature. Look at the equity. See, we were shut out back then. You see, now in 2020, 2025, 2022, 17, now that equity is passed on either in the bank through they sold that for $500,000 now, or they can borrow and leverage against it and send their kids to college or start a business and all that. See, they weren't looking at the big picture. Yeah, you could probably go in there and buy a $500,000 house in Beechwood right now. But back then, when it was necessary, when it was a good market for you to do it, and you was laying the grounds for future generations to come, we weren't in the game. So my point is, by you buying that house for $500,000 now, you just got a whole bunch of debt, and you just put a whole bunch of money in somebody else's pocket. True. So you still trailing, you still behind the whole economic 8 ball and not making it. So so with that being said, that's, another thing that keeping the African American community behind the 8 ball and not being able to catch up. Your thoughts?
Well, there's a video, very blatant and clear video that the Fair Housing Research Center here in Cleveland has that shows what happened after World War II and why a lot of our people who did fight alongside other people, still when they came back from the war, they didn't get their fair shake. They couldn't live what they wanted to do. They couldn't go to school and get education like other people did. So consequently, 2 men, and they'll tell you in this video, 2 men, 1 white, 1 black, both same ranking. But when the white guy came out, he got a better job. He was able to buy a house. When the black guy came out, he had to rent. He didn't get a good job. And so then it came with housing. So it kept stacking on different issues where the black didn't get what he needed, the white did. And so there's a disparity 30 years later of income and assets.
That's right.
And now that's generational. And it's all part of redlining. And redlining still has an ugly head in all these communities across America, holding us back and allowing them access. FHA, holding us back, allowing them access. Then finally, in the 70s and 80s, we got full access to do a whole lot of things. But we're so far behind the 8 ball that our families don't have this generational wealth.
There you go.
Look, when I figured this out, and I studied this across the country, not just Cleveland, but all across the same redlining, and what it did to our people as far as not having that generational wealth, I said, this hurts. It really hurts. Yeah. The only thing we can do now is try our best to catch up. And we got free, through the realtors and through McMullen, free home buyer seminars. Well, if you don't own a house, you just think you have an inkling of trying, come to a free workshop. Don't cost you a dime. Learn what you have to do to build your credit up so you can own. You don't need a lot of money to buy a house. The county got a program. Some of these banks got programs, the nice banks. Not every bank is nice. But then those who are trying to right the wrong,
even the playing field,
try to work with those people.
right? You know what too? What I remember too when I was selling real estate, and when I was newly into the market, I remember my broker saying that it's very difficult for Black folks to get those construction loans. What do you say?
It's still difficult.
It's still, why is that? How is that? Because he would tell me that, look, you can have, like you just said, the same ranking, same credit, and what have you, but giving those construction loans to Black folks at the time, they wanted your grandmama's signature and your firstborn in order to give you, but they was very lax and very compassionate about a young white couple in their 20s just starting off into the real estate market. They be like, yeah, still, let's give them let's give them help, let's give them a leg up in order to get into the real estate market. And I was thinking, I said, wow, is that true? And wind up seeing it for myself, so that's why, and kind of halfway off the subject, that's why I tell our listeners that you have to understand that you are under attack from every angle, and for us to be sitting up here bickering and about little silly stuff, something like Dr. Amos Wilson said, to wait to immobilize or immobilize a people or a group is to keep them consumed in their own discord, never getting anything done. And that's what we do. He's Muslim, or he's Baptist, or he's this, or he's that, and this, that, and other. And we never come together as a people and recognize who is this common threat that is causing grief to all of us. You know what I mean? Those little petty differences we can deal with later on. You know what I mean? But right now, the major issues for financial freedom, for security, for freedoms, to be able to walk the streets, as far as police and stuff is concerned, you have to be a unified situation, at least have some common culture going on to where you look out for each other.
So back in the 70s, late 60s, my father was approached by a home builder to build houses out in Oakwood Village. At that time, the lowest price house, which was a colonial, had about 1,300 square feet. It was selling for $28,000 on Forbes and the streets off of Forbes, between Forbes and Tryon. It was hard to visualize how many people could afford that type of house, because the regular houses in Lee Harvard was less. But those who did saw that little $28,000 basic house turn into now a house that's worth about $250,000. All because someone took the time at this office to say, let's try, let's see, let's give it a shot. And those who could, they took advantage of a really good time. They were able to make a move, and it looked like country at that time. It was just about 5 or 10 roads coming off 271. Wasn't no 480 at that time. But they saw the vision. And because they saw the vision and was willing to trust my father and the whole team, they were able to capitalize on some things. And people said, oh, they're not going to do good. That neighborhood got all our people in it. It's going to go down. No. The neighborhood value went up considerably. People got in at that time at $20,000 or $30,000. Now they got a lot of equity. Lynn, but they had to try it out. It was something new, something they wasn't used to, but it made dividends of return on their investments.
See, and what you're speaking on now, and that's been our downfall as African American people, Black people, for a long time, because when they talk about knowledge and information, see, we tend to not be in the right circles, of that, and it's not shared amongst the community. We are still catching up when we talk about economics, finance, and how to double your money, how to make your money work for you, and things like back in the day. And this had to be in the 90s, early 90s. I don't know if it was before I was police or not. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, where I gave 3 or 4 financial workshops where I had folks come in. Matter of fact, I had you came and done a few of them for me. That's right. That was a while ago. I had somebody talk about investments, stocks, fixing your credit, and all of that. I did 2 or 3 of them myself, trying to get us into the game and trying to get us understanding the market, dealing with real estate. And that was the reason why I initially started my Trail Tech business. Remember with Trail Tech and trying to help landlords, because when I was selling, I'm looking at all these properties and seeing landlords trying to getting out of the business of that because they was having problems with tenants. But I knew that real estate at that point was the headstone on economic freedom for it was doing everybody else, all the other communities, justice, but we was getting out of the business because of the tenant situation. You know what I mean? So that's why I started Trail Tech at that particular time.
Yeah, that's before Warren Buffett and all his cronies started talking about buy real estate. Now, people who bought real estate in this part of the world, and that when the market crashed in 2008 and the prices went way down, just plummeted, they took advantage of that.
Yes.
Because they had the capital, they had the means, they had the equity. Some of our people did too. But they bought properties that now are going for $150,000 and $200,000. They got it for $25,000 and $30,000. But the key here is, even now, you got to try it out. Don't stay a renter for the rest of your life. Give an opportunity to your children to have a place to call their home. They can have their own bedroom. And then once they do, they'll do better in school.
So here's the thing, also I talk a little bit about the book. If we talking about financing and doing anything and dealing with as far as the real estate market is concerned, what is the best thing that you can do for your children at this point? Wouldn't it be wonderful for you, before you leave and transition out of this place in this world here, that you leave your children a house that is free and clear? That they can go in and stay in there, and while you got their college degree and working in their field of study, not paying a mortgage and not paying the rent. Do you see how far that can catapult them into some type of financial freedom, a business? Just imagine yourself in these 25, 30 years that you've been working and you didn't have to pay a mortgage. Do you see how much disposable cash that you could have done?
A lot of people did. In Mount Pleasant, in Glenville, they paid off their houses. They scuffled to get it when no one wanted them to have one, and they scuffled to keep it when it was not always easy because of the economy. And then they transitioned. But what they didn't do, a lot of them didn't make the right kind of deed. They didn't do the right kind of will, or didn't have a will or different type of deed upon their death that their asset would transfer to their family. If they didn't have it, then they had to go to probate court. And those people down there didn't care about the family, anybody. They ended up, in a lot of times, milking the assets of the economic wealth, then disposing of it, not to people in the family, but to their own friends who didn't live in the communities. So we talk about deeds, we talk about wills, we talk about trust.
There you go.
Need all those.
Yes.
Deeds, wills, and trust. And for some of these attorneys that we are feeling with, that they could put together one of those deeds, wills, deeds, and the trust for little to nothing. Some people who are really smart could do it themselves, according to the Cuyahoga County laws. But our people need to know this kind of stuff. And it shouldn't be a thing where we charge them for this information. Just give it away free. Because we give it away, it'll help the community.
Yes, I agree with you.
I wanted to ride with my father as a teenager to spend some time with him. So we would go out in his little sports car out to Oakwood Village, where he sold 152 houses. And I thought we were going to spend some father-son time. He got out the car and said, "I'll be right back." He was talking to the people about how to keep your house. I didn't understand it at the time, but he wanted them to have not just the pre-counseling, but post-counseling too. Keep what you own. Don't worry about getting excessive credit. Don't worry about the brand new car, because the brand new car will overload your ability to do things. Now, that is powerful. Now, we tell that same thing today.
Yes.
Buy the house before you buy the car. The car payment is $600, $700, $800 a month. And as soon as you take it off the curb in the street, it's worth less. You buy a house, spend $100,000, maybe $150,000 get a house. The next year is worth, by county records, at least 4% more than what you paid for it. Every year it's going to go up in value. But some of these guys, they want to look good driving that car, but that car ain't doing nothing for them.
Right. See, and see, they don't understand. They just mess up their debt to ratio income.
Yes.
When they go and trying to get the finance. I remember when I was selling it several times, to where, I had to tell them that very same thing. No, don't go out, because in doing that, we had to get FHA loans and sometimes those loans take it could take from 3 months to, you could be working with a deal for 6 months, you know what I mean? And they would be itchy about going to buy some stuff or getting some more lines. We said, hold on, you're going to throw your whole debt to ratio income out, and then you're not going to qualify for the house, because some of these people was looking for anything. These, what you call those loan processing people, the ones who get a final say. I can't even think about
what.
Underwriters, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. The underwriters, they find any little thing, and
that's right.
And next thing because see, people don't know, just like anything, and my books kind of talk about it. When you're African American in any kind of professional situation like that, you got to make it work for your community, because working with your community is going to be different from what the textbooks say how you do A, B, C, D. You got to make an adjustment. So when we were selling real estate, we had to be contractors, we had to be appraisers, we had to be marriage counselors.
That's it.
We had to be loan officers. We had to know a little bit about all of that to make those deals happen, because folks, you get into that and folks be talking about, hey, Len, we about to have a divorce. I'll be like, hold on now, you don't want to do that. Try to keep it. Go ahead.
You had your license. You sold a house in Scottish Highlands. This is a long time ago. Over in Richmond Heights. Very few blacks lived in Scottish Highlands in Richmond Heights. I said, look at Lynn, he's selling a house in a neighborhood that's predominantly white. And that takes courage. And you had to tell your people, don't be scared. Come on in here.
Right.
I think it was on Donaldson, one of those streets, and you put a client in there. I said, that's the right thing to do. Give them opportunity where they want to live. That's where they wanted to be. And it wasn't easy to get them in there, but you put a couple people, I remember in Richmond Heights, that time it was an up and booming community, but you were courageous. And you did something that most people were scared to do, go into communities where they didn't want you.
Yeah, it's a shame though, and that's why I talk about, we really have to see how much of under attack there we are, and displaced and ostracized on so many arenas and things like that. And I would think that if you really understood that, you would circle the wagons, and defend yourself. But that is the psychological issue that I have with some of our people, because you're not taking arms to defend yourself. Right. I mean, you're getting attacked economically, health-wise, finance, in all areas that you're on the bottom totem pole and dealing with all those particular things and areas. So it's for us not to, take up arms. I'm not talking literally take up arms, but I'm saying to defend yourself in reference to those things, and see that strength is in numbers. You got to come together and work out some particular things in order to move forward. So therefore, what we behind again in this whole real estate market. So things is changing at this particular time now, but some of us is able to get in some of the investment properties and things like that, but that's why that's why I wanted my brother Brother Bond on, to talk about folks who might have a few dollars that there are loans out here to fix some of these properties up and to buy and fix up. Brother Bond, I see you made it on the show, and thanks to our good brother Vince for helping guide you on it.
I'm not quite on yet,
Yes, you're on. You're on.
Just don't touch nothing and don't move nothing. Just
okay.
Yeah, right, you good. All right. Yeah.
Can I introduce him?
Yes, go ahead.
I can't remember the year I met Charles Bond and Moneypenny, but it was at least 2 decades ago, maybe 3.
Oh, don't stay that old.
But he came to this office, I introduced him to my father, with a vision of helping our people get home ownership. And he was the mortgage side, the underwriter. He understood the underwriter. He helped so many people who had an open mind get homes. Some people's minds were closed. They couldn't see it. And they missed the opportunity. But Charles Bond helped hundreds, if not thousands of people get homes because he's willing to try out different ways to get them qualified and get past underwriting so they could own something. And I applaud you for doing that. His nickname is 007.
007.
He's not James Bond. He's better than James Bond. He's Charles Bond.
Hey, before we
Bond don't exist. 007 does.
Yeah. Hey, brother Bob. Before you bring her on, we're gonna take our commercial break real quick, and then we're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you do your thing. And tell people how they can get property, how they can get some investment property, get something to buy and fix up as far as monies is concerned. We'll be right back. Go ahead, Vince.
Perfect.
Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to step away for a few moments and have Charles get himself further together because we want him to turn his phone to the side. So
you don't know how to do that.
I know. We'll get him together. But I just want to make sure that we get everything right for this broadcast. And look, it was some heavy lifting going on, Brother Lynn.
I know.
But miracles happening every day. And today we got a miracle because he's on the screen with us right now. We'd like to thank you for joining us on 360 Info Network right here on AM 1490 WERE. Our guests are Charles Bond, and he has Financial Solutions, LLC. Henry Stoudemeyer is a realtor. His company is McMullen Realty. We're talking finance, we're talking real estate, and we're going to drop some science and some information to you relatively soon after we take this break. Stick with us. We will be right back after this message from our title sponsor, and that is the Cleveland Observer. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Cleveland has stories worth telling and voices that deserve to be heard. That's why the Cleveland Observer is proud to sponsor 360 Info Network with Vince Robinson and Antonio on AM 1490 WERE, where truth, culture, and conversation come together. Each week, host Vince Robinson and Antonio open the door to powerful discussions, from the arts and community history to the issues shaping our neighborhoods today. And the Cleveland Observer is right there with them, shining a light on the people and movements building a stronger Cleveland. Tune in to 360 Info Network and visit CLEobserver.com to read, watch, and share more stories that inform, inspire, and unite our community. Because together, we are Cleveland's voice.
Cleveland Observer, serving Cleveland's community, voice of the community. And as always, you can go to CLEobserver.com. That's CLEobserver.com, and you can access the publication there. It is also available in various locations in the community, so look out for it and check out the Cleveland Observer. We're going to get back to the action with Brother Henry Stoudemeyer and Brother Charles Bond, who are with us on 360 Info Network today. Brother Antonio, I'm sure you have some more profound questions to get to, so I'm going to turn you back over to our guests.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Brother Bond, we was talking about that, the real estate and investment, and and you've been in the loan business a long time. You did several deals for me during that time. But you know, as I talked to Henry about the market changing, could you just briefly talk about how the market has changed and where we at right now, as far as our community, because that's what I'm concerned about, African American community getting loans and things like that. How has it changed, you know, and how the preparation that is necessary?
The last part of what you just said is the most important part, preparation. But the industry has changed under the pressure back in the day that we provided to the system. There was some changes, no money down programs and things where you no matter what your credit score was, it was okay. And, you know, so they did some things because of the pressure, and the pressure was, hey, you guys are shutting us out, this community out, and we want to be in. Some of the banks had to have now what you see, these down payment assistance programs and all the rest of the things that came from back then. So the change is now you see less of that because there's less of us, I would suspect, going out trying to buy a home, trying to do the things that can give you more economic power. And so that's what I see that's missing. And one of the things I would be saying this morning is how to acquire that kind of power that has been missed by us, buying too much, not planning in the right fashion to buy a home, but more in the right fashion to buy a car. Of course, that's needed, and do other things that, you know, don't allow us to get economic power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I remember, you know, and, you know, I know both of you guys, when I first came into the market, when I was dealing with, you know, there's little things that you can do to help you with this purchase situation.
Absolutely.
For example, you know, I was just flabbergasted. You know, I was just new in the market. I was in my 20s. You know what I mean? I was new in the market, and I would see how other racial groups, you know, was doing to help their prodigy or their kids get into the market. So what they would do, they would put them on their credit cards, you know, add them to this, that, and other to help them new 22 years old ones get it. And or maybe they might have started when they was 18 years old and put them on credit cards so they can build up their credit. And I was like, okay, wow. And then the whole thing of actually, if you had a little money, putting $1,000 in the bank and borrowing off that $1,000 and pay it back to the bank and establishing that in 2 or 3 different banks, you know, in order to get some bank credit, in order to start your stuff. Because at that time, Henry, you may remember, we had to use quality furniture or furniture stores and whatever to get established credit. We was using rental payments. You had to bring in a year's worth of rental payments to show some type of payment history and things. So those are the things that Black folks had to do in order to us to get into the market, where these other ethnic groups was using conventional loans and coming in with $10,000, $15,000 on the down payment, and they was getting financing in 2 or 3 weeks, and real estate agents was getting paid, but we had to wait on our money. So your take on that, Brother Bob?
Well, see, what you just said is part of the change that has happened, and it has reversed back to the my detriment, in that we have to redo what it is we did back then, because we did not pass, the generation back then did not pass that information along. What you just said regarding I got a sister that's out there, did exactly what it is you said. Her children was 18, 3 girls, 18, 16, and she got bank accounts for them. Of course, one of them messed up the bank account and all. But again, the whole idea, we have to start early with this process so it can continue on. But yet and still, we got to educate the children as to why all this is happening. Now her children are in their mid-20s. Oh, Mom, I see what you were doing back then. They understand because she's a teacher, and she impresses them every time she gets a chance to say, see, this is why I did that back then. If we as a people, our mothers and fathers, grandfathers, instill in the children the why are we doing this, and so forth, it might come forth to when they're 20, 25. That, yeah, I got to have good credit, and this is how you do it. And by the way, she worked on that as well. She used to work for me, in fact. And so she used the knowledge she got and imparted it to her children. And that's what you have to do. That's what we have to do we have to have it. Then when we get that property, we have to know how to be ready to pass it along.
Absolutely. That's, like I said, that's one of the hedges to financial freedom, financial wealth, and as a group of people, and more often, just like anything, as far as businesses and things is concerned, we tend to not to be in the, businesses to where we can pass on. And then the funny thing that I found out, and this is strange, is that back in the day when I was doing a lot of real estate and businesses and stuff like that, and come across people who want to sell their businesses, is it still prevalent that some of the children didn't want to take up the property or take up the business that the father or the parents had laid out for them? They wasn't interested in taking on. I was like, adopt me, I'll take it. I'll step into. They had apartment buildings that I say, well, why are you selling? Well, my kids don't want anything to do with it. And this, I like, huh? What?
Yes.
I couldn't understand that. It baffled me.
That's requires a grooming from early on.
Yes.
It cannot all of a sudden, when they come of age, so to speak, that they going to take over this business. Don't happen that way. They got to be groomed. You take them to your place of work. You do things. You show them how to use the different things. And now they're sort of understanding how dad makes money or mom makes money, and you get them groomed. And then they say, easy, yeah, I want to do this. Yeah. Oh, I can make $1 or $2. Yeah. They get excited about it.
Right.
But we don't do that.
Because in the Jewish community, that's what they do. They bring them kids in, and if they just, 7, 8, 10, 12 years old, they start them off sweeping the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Then they got them filing papers, and they know every end of that business from the bottom to the top.
There it is. And that's a requirement.
That's how I started out. Sweeping the floor, emptying the waste paper baskets. I graduated to washing cars. I can wash a car now.
Yes, sir.
But here we are, still on the same corner since 1970. All because of what Mr. Bond said: groomed and appreciate the grooming.
Yes.
A lot of black businesses shut down because the kids didn't want it. It's the same business that helped make sure they had diapers and food every day. They didn't want those businesses. It happened in the white community too. Up and down Kinsman and Buckeye and 105 and St. Clair and Superior. A lot of businesses that were thriving. And the kids didn't want anything to do with it. Why? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. And if they was groomed right, the kids would understand, okay, look, what can I do to take that business that my father had to the next level? So you would go in college to learn some stuff to enhance that, to license that business, to franchise that business, whatever it is, take it to the next level, and you won't have to work about. You have to worry about going in. I don't care what technical field. I don't care if you was an engineer. If you did that, flip that business and duplicated that business in other parts of the city and licensed it out or whatever, you wouldn't have to worry about no engineer degree. You make more money. Listen to this, and you both of you guys have businesses. This country is geared towards a business owner. All your tax breaks, all the breaks that you have is for a business owner, not a worker.
Right.
Not a worker.
For sure. I can tell you that over and over.
No break for that. If you just working to get wages, Uncle Sam and everybody else is gonna beat you to death. But if you turn that situation into a business or LLC, how you think a person like Trump to make billions of dollars paying less taxes than me? How do you think he able to do that? All the loopholes and everything that own the business.
Last I heard, he got 126 LLCs.
What?
126 LLCs.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's the game that they play, and they pass the money from left to right and sideways. And when one has to be uplifted, they now can do their taxes and now get some money back as never paying the government. You know?
Okay, well, a bond. So for our people who's listening on the air, they've only got a 10 minutes or so for that. I
Okay.
just want you for real quickly to explain on how they can get into the market or what loans that they can get, for these investment loans.
Okay, first thing is we can't talk about loans until we prepare. Okay, The first thing to prepare is how is your credit. The second to know is, do I have money in the bank and how much will I need? The third thing we have to know is, have I been on the job for X amount of years? So let me go into some details real quickly. Your credit score typically to get what's called an FHA loan has to be somewhere from 580, ideally around 620. How you get there, I can invite our family here to give me a call. I'll give you more details on what to do so that you can be prepared. If it takes us a half an hour to talk together, I have no problems in doing that. And so my telephone number is 216-346-6856. And be prepared to spend some time and definitely have something to write with, because this is not no absorbing in my brain type of stuff. You're going to need new information to be able to prepare to buy a home. One of the most important things that I see that we didn't do back then, I was telling people to do, and it has to do with what you're just saying, that we lose the home and so forth. I had envisioned that in my own mind, and this is only me talking, that people will listen to buy a home today, but Stoudemire, you can tell them a 2-family residence to start with. That is not our American dream, our dream. We want a big spread and so forth, but listen to what I got to say. If you bought the first house as a 2-family residence and you lived on one unit and you rent out the other unit, that other unit pays for your mortgage or part of your mortgage. As a result now, after 1 year, and that's what the system requires, you now can then move to your dream home. How can you do that? Because now you got money. If you saved it from that rental, you got upstairs or downstairs, and you got down payment. So down payment is not the equation. Then in the meantime, you've worked on your credit and got your score to maybe 620 and so forth. So now you got your dream home. You got the money. You got the money to buy it, and you got the money to keep the other unit that you lived in as a rental income as well.
Preach.
And so as a result, you now have arrived at that American dream with the money in the bank and all the rest of the things that's important. But we're in this thing that they sold us on. Oh, you got to buy that big spread and so forth. You can't pay taxes after a while. You can't keep it up after a while. Then you got to go backwards.
Okay, Bond. Now, say we got somebody set up and ready to go. The other day we talked about some of those investment loans. Is that still such an animal out there that you can get something to buy and fix up? Investors.
You mentioned about how creative I was back then. I'm still creative, even more so now because it's needed.
Right.
Listen to this. If the investors call me, I can give them directions to buy investment properties with no money down. Keep talking. Yeah. So there's ways to do things legally and properly. And you got to have the good mix of a seller and buyer. And so you got that mix. You can do a lot of things for commercial loans as well as for the residential loans, as well as for the investment properties. So it's all out there for us to take advantage of if you got the mindset to listen and follow this. You're not going to do it. We talked today. You're not going to do it tomorrow. But I'll set you on a road to plan if you're not ready. If you're ready, and down payment is not at all. You need a score of around 680 to start with. They're not giving money away, but they're giving money out. Also, they'll give you money as an investor to do all the renovations on your home. All the renovations in the loan at the beginning. So you don't have to worry about, I got to buy this investment property, it looks good, but I don't have the money to fix it up. I can get that in the loan itself.
Mhm. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's so basically we don't have no excuse if you're trying to get into the game here, because
If you're
like
trying to get in the game, you call me and I'll show you how to get in the game.
well, give me that number. Give me that number again.
216 area code 346-6856. Do not call me from a business phone because I'm blocking. I get too many calls. Call me from your cell phone or text me first to say I'm so-and-so. And this way I pick up on the call. So call me on my cell phone, 216-346-6856, and I'll be glad to help.
All right, Brother Henry, anything to add to that and give your information too as well, just for our people who's listening via radio. We're gonna probably spill over a little bit into the after the 12 o'clock hour, but for folks who's listening on the radio, if they want to get in contact with you, how do they get with you, Henry?
216-991-8100. 216-991-8100. We had
Now,
that for 40, 50 years.
Yeah. For both of you guys, see, and you know, everything is about networking. Just like with anything, any businesses, you know, you run into different people that might need different things. Henry, earlier you talked about the trust, you talked about the will and stuff. So I'm sure you got connections with people that can help you with all of those things. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the same thing what Charles Bond was saying. Just spend 30 minutes to get this free information. It'll change your life.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not expensive, but it just takes a little bit of time to learn about a deed, a will, and a trust. Mm-hmm. We want to prepare not just for today, but for the future of our children tomorrow.
Sure enough.
Because
we want them to keep the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's pre and post information.
Mm-hmm.
What they need to get the house, and Charles Bond is one of the best ever to teach them what to do to get the house.
Mm-hmm.
He helped hundreds. They would come in the office, him and Money Penny Beer all night trying to help people. But those who listened benefited. They got the American dream. And like I was saying, I had an investor. She lived on the second floor, rented out the first floor, then took the third floor, the attic, and turned it into a bedroom for her two daughters. But the first was paying her rent. She called me and said, Junior, I want to buy the house next door. It was a two-family. I said, okay. She had cash because she saved that money. She had her job. Her husband had his job. They saved the money. They bought with cash the property next door. And they just kept on buying and buying after that. It's all because just take your time to do the good things first. They got what they wanted, the dream house eventually, but they put the work in and it made their life so easy, but they had a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so again, it's the big D then. It's called discipline. If you really want to do that, you got to have put that plan into action and work towards that plan, and don't let the party in the streets and because you want to outdo your neighbor and get a bigger car than they, and you want to ride good.
Yes.
Because that's what we tend to do sometimes, because it's all about show, you know. Because like I said, I can buy what I want, but I'm driving it in a Dodge Caravan. Okay?
Hey.
You know? I ain't tripping. That car gets me from one place to the next place. You know what I'm trying to say? I ain't trying to impress nobody, whatever. And when I do buy something, I buy something pretty much for cash. Under 10,000 is mine, and I'll drive that. You know, I ain't trying to impress nobody. You know.
Thank you.
Brother Vince. You muted. You muted.
Yeah,
Okay.
just want to make a couple of announcements before we transition over to YouTube and Facebook. You're listening to 360 Info Network right here on AM 1490 WERE. And our guests today are Charles Bond of Financial Home Solutions, LLC, and Henry Stoudemire of McMullen Realty. They dropping the knowledge, y'all. If you don't know about the real estate game, you need to pay attention, because as Hamtonio said at the top of the hour, there's crypto, there's gold and silver, there's stocks and all of that, but real estate is a very important investment. And it's one of the ways that you can get ahead. Somebody just mentioned buying a duplex, renting out both sides, or buy the duplex, live on one side, and then rent out the other side. And then the duplex is paying for itself. So there are lots of ways to get ahead with real estate. So replay this program. You can go to my YouTube channel and you can pull this up. You can also go to the 360 Info Network Facebook page, and there will be a recording of this program. So you can listen back to it, get what you need, and then reach out to these brothers, Charles Bond and Henry Stoudemeyer. We're going to continue our conversation on the other side. Also, just want to remind you about the program that's going to take place at the Phyllis Wheatley Association. It is our brother Wayne Chandler, and he's going to be talking about the return of the feminine divine. I'm telling you, it will be worth it for you to be there, because you're going to hear things that you won't hear in other places, especially when it comes to conventional media. Also, want to remind you about a program that's going to happen at Larchmere Arts, and that's on next Saturday at 7. We got Papa Suso that's coming in from wherever he's from. I think he's from Gambia. He's coming in, and he's going to be playing with some great musicians, including Baba Jubal and our brother Ismail Douglas, Kofi Kemet. They're going to be playing African instruments. This is going to be a joy. Trust me on that. And you can come and pay at the door, and that will be next Saturday at 7. And that will be at Larchmere Arts, 12726 Larchmere Boulevard. Want to thank you for joining us here on the radio. Invite you to join us on the other side, YouTube and Facebook. Also, want to extend a great big shout out to our brother Tone Harley, holding it down for us at the studio over there on Rockside Road. Thank you for doing what you do for us, brother. And thank you to you for listening. As always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make it a great day. Peace, y'all.
Peace, peace.
Yeah.
All right. If you are just joining us online, we have two great guests. They have been around for a minute and they know the ropes. Definitely. I'm kind of listening half in and half out and directing a show, but I picked up some great tidbits from what we just got in the past 15 minutes. Charles Bond, my brother, you're dropping the knowledge on us. And I will look forward to listening to the first half of the show when Henry was dropping the knowledge as well. Brother Hamtonio is very intentional about bringing you information that can help improve the quality of your life. And as he said at the top, finances are really important now that we're living in hyperinflation and Straits of Hormuz being locked up. And now we paying $5 a gallon for gas and all these other kinds of things. You got two choices in life. And I think Hamtonio hit it on the nail. He hit the nail on the head. He said, basically, if you don't have an LLC, you're missing out.
Mm-hmm.
The way this country is designed, they exploit the folks who are the workers, and the people who have businesses are the ones who get all the loopholes and the tax breaks and all those other kinds of things. So in the vernacular, it behooves you.
Mm-hmm.
It behooves you to pay attention right now. So with that, I'm going to turn things back over to Brother Hamtonio and continue with what you want to bring forth to us today.
Yeah, it's in talking about philosophy at this particular time, because we talked a little bit about the business itself, the philosophy, the mindset. How long and how many years we have to keep saying the same thing over, or going through the same motions of being left behind, not educated enough, as far as finances, because there's several pillars that we need, and financing and having an economic community is one of those pillars that for our stability, to be counted, to be invited to the table. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about that. We need to be able to control the economics in our community, and by us not doing that, now we vulnerable and subject to anybody else's version of anything that they bring on, because you can't feed yourself. How can you cannot be in the position all the time as a community being dependent on somebody else to feed you, to take care of you. And we tend to line up our children and our next generations to the same, they fall in the same trap that we was fighting to get out of. And that's why we can't understand when we had somebody that had a business that was striving and doing. That's why we can't even fathom why would you want to not take the baton and take that business to the next level, because that's what everybody else is doing. Go ahead, Vince. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to co-sign what you're saying, because in the past hour I heard you talking about how children don't want to take on the responsibilities of their parents, you know, and this is not a good phenomenon in our community. Our grandparents worked hard to get those houses, and then to pass it down to the next generation.
Yes, sir.
And because we're thinking about what we can do with instant gratification, we get this lump sum of money and we can go out and spend it. What we're doing is we're giving up our freedom, because our freedom is tied to the ownership of land, property, businesses, and those kinds of things. So what we need to do really is to school our children. I watched a video last week that was really profound to me, and it was talking about how to teach your children responsibility when it comes to money. So the suggestion was that you have 3 envelopes and that you pay your children an allowance. It could be just as little as $5 a week. Have them empty the garbage, you know, sweep the floors, wash the dishes, whatever. But you have 3 separate envelopes. You have one envelope that you put money in, and that's money that you can spend. You got another envelope of money that you save, and you have another envelope of money that you invest. And you do this over a period of time. It teaches your children the responsibility of having money, knowing that you have to set some aside so that you can grow it, have some set to the side so that you can spend it. But you just know that you don't just get money off a tree. You work for that money and you do something meaningful with it. And if you start your children off young, 5, 6 years old, teach them this responsibility, just as that teacher, you have developed some financial responsibility and awareness. They don't teach us these things in school. What they do in school is they teach us that we got to learn all these things so that when we graduate from high school, we can get a job.
Go work for somebody.
And then here's another thing that they do. They give us this mistaken notion that a house is an investment. The house is not an investment until it's paid off and you're in a position to sell it. Other than that, it's a liability, because you're pouring money into that house. You're paying the mortgage, you're paying to maintain the house, you're paying taxes, all these things. So you don't just buy a house and all of a sudden you're an investor. No, that's not how it works. Now, if you do what Henry suggested and you get that duplex, that's another thing, because you have something that's generating income. That's the reason that the folks who have money get ahead, because they have money that's working for them, that's not taking money away from them, but it's adding to them. And the secret to success is having multiple income streams. So when you have multiple properties, you have multiple income streams. This is what the folks do. Charles, you said that somebody had over 120 LLCs.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And we have none. It's time for folks to wake up and do what they need to do so that they can take advantage of all those loopholes and passive income, so that we're not crying every time dollar goes up $1 a gallon. Gas goes up $1 a gallon. And, you know, we saw gas go from $2.59 a gallon at my favorite gas station over there at 124th Street in Superior. I drive out of my way to go there because consistently they got 20 cents or more a gallon lower prices than the other spots. But when it goes up $1, $2, we've seen gas go from $2.59 to $5 in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's due to our good old Our good old 47.
Well, but it's more than 47 because game recognized game. That's what we say in the
Taking
hood.
the opportunity. Is that what you said?
Game recognized game, and he's not the only person that's profiting.
Oh,
I
for
heard
sure.
something, and I know this isn't related to real estate, but in a sense it is, because this is one of the games that they play. You have 2 million barrels of oil on a tanker sitting in international waters. That tanker is real estate, essentially what it is, because it's storage. You're paying somebody to store something. So what they do is they have all this petroleum in international waters, and they're just waiting for the price to go up.
Yep.
So when it goes from $70 a gallon or barrel to $100 a barrel, then it's like, okay, time to move. So they move it out of international waters, they move it into the marketplace, they sell it, and they make all that money. That tanker could sit in international waters for months. It's just they've got it all taken care of. It's ready to move. And then when that magic thing happens and the price goes up, boom, they making money. So that's one of the games that is being played. Brother Antonio, you talked to Henry about the changes in the market, and I think Charles also chimed in on this. We've got the Fed, we've got a new chair that's going to be in place, if not already. He's promising to lower interest rates. So we see real estate prices going up, we see prices going down, we see rates going up, and we see rates going down. Based on your awareness of where interest rates could go, what impact is that going to have on the real estate market? Are we going to see an infusion of money into real estate and more opportunity for people who want to invest in real estate?
Yes, we see it now. Our phones ring from all across the country, and sometimes people from other lands are calling us about buying homes in our neighborhoods, but not too many of us. And that's the disconcerting part of it. We need to own the real estate as well. And the real estate that they're buying are in neighborhoods where we are. Yep. They want us to be the tenant paying them the rent. And if we pay them the rent, then they get richer. But our philosophy is, why can't we be the one buying the real estate? Why can't we be the one collecting rent? My uncles and aunts did it. My father did it. Some of my cousins have done it. But then we get to the point where some of us don't want to do it. It's making money. But other people come in our neighborhoods and don't have a problem buying real estate. They don't buy real estate in their neighborhood. They come to our neighborhood to buy it. It's a system, Vince, and you kind of understand it. They devalue the real estate or the neighborhood. They come in here, buy the stuff cheap, and this is they buy it cheap, and then they offer it to us as rental property for more. Now it's urban renewal, but it's vicious because it uses redlining as the approach to offset what we can't understand that we need. Antonio said it many times. You got to own something. You got to have some real estate. Then the taxes will work for you, not against you. But our people are sometimes easy to go buy the nice car, but they don't think about the real estate. It's easy to get a decent car, but buy a nice piece of real estate, a rental property. Then you rent out one floor, stay the next one. Within a year or so, Mr. Bond will tell you, then you collect the money. You don't live as hard. Then you go to your dream home, or I like to say, buy another 2-family. Your dream home. Then you have, as one investor told me, this is many years ago, back in the early 80s, Henry, you know how I pay for my kids' schooling? I said, he said, that real estate, that's that 2-family there on Benwood. That's how I pay for her school. She's going to college. I understood. You buy the asset, it'll work for you. Look, we got to get off this rental mentality. And I know people They come in here, they rent a house for $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, it's okay. If you have to, okay. But let's think about home ownership. Let's think about not staying there for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years as a tenant. Maybe do a year. Then the Charles can get you in a position you could buy something. You might be able to buy the one you're living in if the price is right.
Yeah, that's possible. Here's the thing. We come full circle again, and this is something I talk about all the time, because we got to ask ourselves why we are pulling teeth with that philosophy that you just said, Brother Henry. Why? And it comes back to me again to the psychosis that we went through and the lack of culture. The lack of culture, customs, and rituals and things like that. It's a mental situation. I'm right back at that again, because why wouldn't see the reason why we out here acting individually? We collectively, we're not doing anything together. To get us to even pull what is that thread that would cause several Indian families to pull their money together and buy that Mr. Hero?
Yes,
and
sir.
then they will work until all 5 of them got their own Mr. Hero. What is the thread that is holding them and enabling them to do that? It's a common culture, common way of life, common worldview. Like Dr. Claude Anderson said, quit looking at race as a color and look at it as a team effort. Because the Asians trying to get as much as they can, the Indian people trying to get as much as they can. See, we not nation building. We're not thinking nation building. We're not thinking community building like that. And that's because of a lack of culture. Because a culture pulls you together, that glue, and it keeps you upright. And what I mean by that, if you have some unscrupulous business dealing going on in the community, guess what? Other ethnic groups will ostracize you. You won't be able to still go around and do all them bad business dealings in your community. If you had a tight cultural ethnic community together, your name would spread like mud and like, oh, don't mess with him. So you don't want to jeopardize that. So you stay vigilant to looking towards the best interest of the community and your family and things of that nature. That's why culture, like Dr. Amos Wilson said, a culture is economics. Why is economics? How it could be economics? If our culture say that we wear these Kango hats, guess what? Somebody in the community is making these Kango hats, and guess what? The money is moving around in the community. So it all comes back a little bit to that, because this was the main point I was saying. If you had a cultural community, guess what? Those people that is calling Henry and trying to get into the market, you wouldn't let them in the market.
Right.
You wouldn't let them in the market. Just like the Arabs and everybody else got your business. We the only people, because you're not culturally tight, we the only people will let other communities come into our area and exploit us and don't have to give us nothing back for doing business in our community. And how we allow that and why that can take place? Because you're not culturally tight. You're not culturally tight.
Where's that?
And I include myself. It's a shame that we allow that to happen. Okay, if we don't have the businesses, okay, they got the businesses and the money, we don't. But guess what? We can twist them to the point that you're gonna pay the home team. You're gonna do something for our babies in our community. You're not just gonna take all our money out and don't do nothing for the community that serves you. How do we allow that to happen as men? That's ridiculous. But because if you were culturally tight, that would not happen. Foreigners would not be coming in buying up all your property and written to you in your own neighborhoods. What kind of sense do that make?
None. It doesn't make any sense. The W.O. Walkers of the world, the Carter Woodsons of the world, the Benjamins, all the famous Black people, they had this culture and they had this mindset. I want to help my people. And sometimes our own people don't understand we're trying to help them. And they work against us. But if we have that mindset, that's how Colin Post got founded. You know, even Motown, we worked together. We had a common sense of cohesion. We worked together. Charles Bond, I met him at a
In
L,
Columbus, Ohio.
he was promoting LCI, one of those multi-level things,
Yes.
and we just linked because I loved his mind. His mind was about helping people. He met my daddy, and everything rest is history. A lot of Black people got homes, all because people were willing to have that united cohesion. He's family, just like you are. This you are now. Whenever you want to come up to this office for whatever the reason, or call your family, say, "Hey, you want a house? Go see McMullen. You want a loan? Go see Charles Bond." That's how we work. It's you know, I don't understand the concept why people go to Rocket Mortgage. I want to see the person I'm going to get a mortgage from. You asking for my information? Now, young people don't want to do that. Maybe that's why they are. But every time Mr. Bond and Moneypenny sat down with somebody and they talked about, it was magic. It worked. I saw light bulbs turn on. The people's imagination got better. Then I took them out. My father took them out. Other agents took them out. We found them homes. They wanted something. And I don't know if our people today really want something. I don't know if they have a desire to really be part of the American dream, or they'd fall into this loosey-goosey thing of being tenants for the rest of their life and never been a homeowner.
But let me ask you a question here. Is it that cycles of because when you get beat down so much and you don't have that inspiration that is passed on, is it a state of helplessness now, or your complacency, Vince? Would you say that, Vince? What?
I think it is indoctrination.
No.
And I think the indoctrination puts you in a place where you don't want to do anything that's complicated. You know, when you think about purchasing a house, you know, you got to go through all these changes. You got to sit down with somebody. They're going to put a stack of paper in front of you and have you put initials on it and your signatures on. And you don't understand all that stuff, you know, so you really don't want to be bothered with it. But anything worth having, you have to work for it. You have to do something in order to get from point A to point B. And we don't want to do that. It's easy to just pay the rent the first of the month. You know, all you got to do is pay the rent, and somebody taking care of cutting the grass, and they got the account set up so that, you know, all you do is pay that money. But if you do the extra stuff, then you get the benefit of it. I was driving down 79th Street. I think it was 79th and Central. And I looked up and I saw this billboard. And then this guy, I think his name is John Williams, and he's buying single family homes. You know, and there's a reason for that, you know, and it's like he's a predator and we don't see it. You know, we've got we got predators dropping mail in our mailboxes and sending us text messages, want to buy our home. Let me ask you a question. Where do I go after you buy my home? For half of what or 25% of what I paid for it. You know, the house was $79,000. And then I paid interest on that $79,000 for 15 years. You know, or 19 years. Where am I going now that you bought my house? You're not giving me enough to buy another house.
Nope.
So what's the point? No, I'm holding on to this until the roof fall off. You know? Look,
that's that gentrification stuff, man. That's that gentrification stuff you was talking about. You always talk about the gentrification piece.
Oh yeah. They're raising the property taxes so that your property tax essentially is another mortgage, because you're paying either monthly or twice a year, and they charging you $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to live in your house that you paid 30 years for. That doesn't make sense to me, but that's how they do things, you know. And again, going back to the cultural piece, Brother Antonio, you mentioned it, and I was thinking about the movie Mississippi Masala.
I don't know if
Did,
I've seen
did
it. Go ahead.
Mississippi Masala was a it was kind of a romantic film. Denzel Washington was in it.
Okay.
And this Indian sister played his love interest, and her family was involved in owning hotels. And I'm thinking about this. You got a building that has about, I don't know, maybe 200 rooms, and people are paying to stay in these rooms every night. Man, if you have it all the way booked, that's a lot of money. You know, I'm doing the math. I'm thinking, well, maybe I should be looking. Call my friend Greg Pickett, who's a commercial real estate person, and say, Greg, look for a hotel for me. And then I'm thinking out loud, right on the fly, right here. You got a couple of investors. You got maybe 2 or 3 people that got $20,000 or $30,000 that they can use to acquire a property.
Right.
And then you get someone to manage these properties, and you got all this income coming in, and then you just do it again, multiply it. You take profits from that one hotel and you use that to acquire another hotel, and before you know it, like the Indians, you got a chain. You're picking up a hotel here, hotel there, and that's money. You know, these are the kinds of things that we need to be thinking about. But what happened was, and we talk about this all the time, that thing called integration happened. And then we stopped having our own businesses and we started going to other people's businesses. We weren't doing what we did back in the day, because back in the day, like I said before, grandmother and grandfather worked hard, acquired that property, and kept things moving forward so that we could have some intergenerational wealth to pass down. And with inflation hitting us right now, you got to think about doing something, because 10 years ago, $100,000 could get you $100,000. Now that same $100,000 only gets you $80,000 worth of stuff.
Well, and I want to. That's a good place to interject this. Okay, now keep this in mind. You know, potential investor, where we at? And Henry, you can co-sign on this if it's, because I remember you about 6 months ago. I asked you this question. Now, if you did wind up getting them something in the inner city, you know, 30, 40,000, whatever. Henry, in places like 131st Street, St. Clair, you know, decent streets on there. What are these houses are going for now? I was shocked, you know, or what these houses, if you got one for 30, 40 and fix it up, what's the prices of these houses, what they going for now, Henry?
You can't find a house in the city of Cleveland that's in good shape for under $90,000. These neighborhoods that, Lynn, we thought 20,000 or 10,000 was high. 70s. Now let's look at 80 or 90,000 for the same property if it's in good shape. The amount of money people are making is what makes people come from all across the country in some parts of the world to buy our real estate. But why won't we buy it?
You know, I remember you was telling me about someone on. I was looking at somebody on Benwood, and actually the area that I had a house on, it was over 100 some thousand, $120 some $1,000 on Benwood, off 140,000 off of 131st Street, 140,000, y'all. Selling.
Your brothers are talking about something that I've seen over the years happen. I come from Brooklyn, New York originally. Right now, if you go to Brooklyn, New York, in the area that I lived in, it is owned by white folks. It's always been occupied by our folks. And so there's very little uplifting movement in the community. What all of y'all are saying has been preached and preached for years. But a small community trying to preach to all of us at the same time, it just does not register, because that check at the end of the month is my salvation. To eat, to buy my car, to have fun, but we don't invest. We don't invest. It's a scary proposition. The reason why we're talking today, we're trying to teach our people that there's another world out there, which is home ownership and moving our property, moving our family to higher levels by owning property. Very difficult to exist in our community. We have people on the phone here, sisters and brothers, that are always thinking about it, but don't know how to do nothing about it. We got to start changing your mindset to say, how can I do? That's what this programming is all about, y'all. Think about how I can do it. Yeah, it ain't easy because you're just starting out, but you can evolve by having a plan. And that's where we fall down there. We have the plan for 15 minutes, and then the rest of the hour is gone.
Yeah.
Got
And
to have a continuation of the plan. And these things that we're talking about here, we lost on, but it ain't lost forever if you start planning now.
yeah, so you got somebody in your family. There's always one person that has good credit. Always one person. So you
Yeah.
leverage that good credit to acquire property somehow, and then you build on it. That kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah. And that's the key, really, to getting economic wealth in the community, buying and holding on to our own. And only, as Henry was saying, years ago when I was working with his father, and so there was no buying and selling. It was buying and keeping and renting. That was the mindset.
Yeah, yes.
And so therefore, you could build upon that to do something else. It's the something else that we've lost. Okay. And so it has to be a continuation. Pass it along to somebody. Show them how you did this. No, but we just keep it in. There's no programming such as this out there to speak of. Is if you meet somebody at the bar, you meet somebody for lunch or whatever. That was it. But that's why I enjoy HAMP and this type of forum, because it teaches people, no matter how many people are on this line, it teaches somebody's grabbing something along the way. One person adds to another person to another person. This is the only way I can see it happening. That we just keep spreading the word, because one day or other it's going to register, and hopefully not too late.
We have everything we need in our own community. We really do.
You do.
If someone needs a roof, my father taught me to love everybody but be pro-black. So I have black roofers. I got black electricians. I have black plumbers. I got black mortgage.
Clean out men.
They all look like me.
Yes.
It's all about, and I still read the Calling Post, folks. I still buy it every week because it's our paper. Some people say, "Why you?" Look, it's my paper. They've been around all these years in this community. Why not? I don't read the Time. I don't read Newsweek, but I do read the Calling Post. And I make my family read it too, and some of the people because it's our newspaper. But we have to believe in ourselves. Sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. We think someone else could teach us something. Some of the greatest scientists and engineers in the world look like us. Give us a chance. Mr. Bond, you've helped hundreds of thousands of people buy houses, and we appreciate all you've done. Now you're still saying, I'm still doing it. Call me up, give me 30 minutes, I'll still help you. I love it. That's what we need. Work together.
Yes, sir.
Lynn,
here's the thing too that should have us going. I know, as far as me is concerned, when you have other ethnic groups benefiting from certain things, and I want to know, well, why can't I do that?
Yes.
You won't let me come in your community and set up a business. How in the HELL you gonna come in my community and do it and don't pay homage? You know what I'm saying?
There it is.
We should be looking at it like that. Not just in the real estate business, across the board or anything. Yeah. So that's what I almost started to come down here and make a video about that. I was looking at how, the big talk was about how the Supreme Court just ruling about dealing with the Voting Act. I predicted 2 years ago that this country is going to be the North and the South again if they give them that states' rights and all of those stuff.
There you go.
I said that, and it looked like some things that happened. So you see that you're under attack. So in arenas, what I was going to come down here, I said, okay, what? You see the gas going up. They ain't caring about the community. I say eventually I make another prediction. They may at one point open the jails out and have these brothers back out in the fields helping the farmers. That may come about. But my point is that we need to maybe opt out. Black folks should just opt out of some things because they don't understand anything but about money. That's it. Because you see the tax on the DEI and all the rest of the tax that is affecting our community. You want not enough monuments. Somebody can get sued for the HBCU because they want to reverse discrimination and all this tax going on. Opt out. Black folks should just opt out. Guess what? We ain't doing none of that stuff. In areas where we don't spend no money, we ain't spending nothing. We opting out. We gonna fold our hands, But because we still, like what Dr. Whitaker said, I'm taking my Social Security or whatever and putting it in another country. Is we still funding the same entities that got their foot on our neck? How you gonna ever win? They can set up any policy that they want to set up, and it's against us. But we still playing into it and still feeding into the same companies that don't have our best interests. We need to have people that are talented 10 investigate those companies that are promoting Trump's crap, Trump's bullshit. Put them out on mainstream and boycott all of those particular entities and opt out. That's what we should be doing.
We have the power, but we're just not doing it. We do have the power.
No doubt about it. We the biggest cash cow this country got.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
We have the power.
Our money come in one hand and go right out the other hand, and feeding everybody else. All our talented entertainers and basketball players, they got 5 different entities draining them from their publicist, their banker, their accountant. All of them making money off of that talented brother or sister.
Yeah, I really do think that the key is education. And I think Carter G. Woodson hit the nail on the head when he talked about the miseducation of the Negro, and the fact is we don't get a financial education as we're coming up. And that's how we continue to be exploited.
Yep.
When you think about the World Economic Forum and their slogan, you will own nothing and be happy. And you can look at that as a negative. But what the rich folk do is they don't own it. They control it. They take it out of the public realm in terms of ownership and they put it into a trust. There are insurance products that you can use to be your own bank. And you can actually take money out of these policies and use that money to invest in properties and not pay taxes on it. But again, you have to know the game.
Yep.
So I think really it's incumbent upon us, and I'm saying this in terms of us being social media folk, content creators, to get this information out there. I'm like everybody else, I'm on social media scrolling and I keep scrolling past these things where they tell you can get this type of an insurance policy and borrow against it and not pay taxes on it, or you can put your property and stuff in a trust and there are advantages to do that. Well, we got to do that now. Yes. Because what's happening is the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of this planet. And you have companies like BlackRock that are buying up these single family homes and operating them on a 1% profit margin. But when you have billions of dollars, that 1% adds up to a lot of money. So we can't be so quick to sell our home to somebody that's going to use it to profit and exploit us. These are the things that we have to take control of so that we don't continue to be exploited. I have watched and listened to some predictions by Edgar Casey. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but years ago, he was predicting exactly what is going on right now. And what is going to happen is that paradigms are going to shift and we're going to get to places where we have more relationships with each other based on bartering, because money and currency have been used as a system of control. And so in order for that not to affect us, we're going to get to a place where Antonio grows apples. I grow cucumbers. He wants cucumbers. I want apples. We trade apples for cucumbers and we good. No money changed hands, but needs were met. We're going to have to depend on each other that way. Henry talked about having access to plumbers and cleanup men and all those other kinds of things. We're going to have to leverage those relationships in order to have our needs met. And we have to start thinking this way now because, like we said, gas, $5 a gallon. Well, if you got a fixed income or you're only getting a 2% raise and inflation is going up 10% a year, you're still behind the 8 ball. So we got to look at doing some other things. And I think it really boils down to us having a greater reliance and the dependence on each other and not being so quick to depend on the man. Simi said it. She said it perfectly. We have to break the spell that other folks have that the water is colder.
Yes,
Antonio says it all the time. We think that the white man's ice is colder, but water freezes at 32 degrees no matter who freezes it.
every day of the week. Every day of the week.
Every day of the week. So your ice is still as good as anyone else's, but we have this misconception that somehow because they were responsible for it. And here's the other thing. This is the biggest irony of all. They learned everything that they know from us. And then they use the knowledge that they have to exploit us. They got us scared to say that we have divinity within ourselves. They have us scared to claim our power. They have us scared to remember that we were the ones who started everything. Wake up and realize who you are. And I'm just so impressed by these two brothers here who have this extensive knowledge of the game and how to play it. That's why you need to be getting with them so that you can take advantage of knowing how to operate in this world that wants to take everything away from us. You got to have a place to live. It may as well be paying you to live there.
Right. So here's something here. You know, this may be elementary again for some people, but for some people it's not elementary. And so what I'm saying now, our brother Bond, correct me if I'm wrong, if it can still work for people as far as that credit piece is concerned, of doing the bank transactions, like that, to where if you got some dollars, put it in and borrow against it and pay it back, put your kids on your credit cards and things of that nature. That's still viable and helpful and getting people starting to fix their credit. I mean, that's something simple and right off the bat that you can do to start preparing yourself to get into the marketplace. Am I right or not, Brother Bond?
You're absolutely right. The sister that I was referring to a while back did the same thing because she listened to me, and she didn't have a husband to work with, but she had 3 children. Now those children are in their mid-20s, and they have literally seen the light, because don't forget, these children meet other children that don't have parents as astute. They want to identify with the group, and therefore they lose some of that culture that had been taught to them by the parent. These young girls didn't, because that mother stayed on them, because she knew the value of these children when they get 6, 7, 8 years from now, where they would be. And they have grown. They bought homes. Their husbands was not as astute as not one of the husbands is as astute as the girls.
Wow.
Because of how they grew up. So where we're talking about, and it should start from, again, age-old thing, the parents. The parents nowadays can spend a lot of time on that thing called a cell phone or computer, but where's the teaching? You're teaching yourself by looking at this thing called the computer or the cell phone. Pass information along that's of value, and we talked about the Jews. The same thing should be happening with us. Pass information along, be restrictive. Yeah, you ain't going out today. It's time for you to sit down here and listen to something of value.
Come on.
And that sticks. That sticks. If they ain't mad, they more than mad because they can't go out. This is the children I'm talking about. But at the end of the tunnel, and I've seen this, at the end of the tunnel, oh, I'm so thankful you did that for me, or you said that for me. I mean, it just requires a consistent pounding, letting them know this is the way to go. And as a result, all of a sudden, the light comes on. And the light really comes on if they see, a friend saying, one of their homies saying, "Hey, how'd you do that?"
That's exactly where I was going with that.
Yeah, how'd you do that? You know,
Yeah,
you got a
yeah,
bank account? Oh,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
what? You know, mother. They ain't saying how the mother has shut it down when y'all ain't taking no money out till I know about it.
Right. That's exactly what where I was going with that, brother Bob. Because
Yeah.
what's going to happen? Them kids gonna start having. Hey, I didn't need a co-signer to get my car. I didn't need
Yeah.
somebody to, if they did rent an apartment. My parents didn't, and it safeguards the parents. You ain't got to go on the lease with them. You don't have to go on the note with them. They can
Exactly.
do it on their
How about
own.
how about this? If you got money in the bank and all of a sudden you're in front of the boss man that's going to sell you a car, and you're astute enough to say, "No, I ain't going to pay no 22% interest rate. I'm going to pay 12% interest rate." Why? Because I got money in the bank, I got good credit, and all. Yeah, and those things perpetuate itself by the child or whoever passing along and their homies seeing it. And all of a sudden now a new world starts with them, but their parents have to be the one to perpetuate it, and that don't happen. That don't happen in our community. Parents will spend more time on a cell phone and computer doing what they got to do and not teaching the children what it is that they have to do to be themselves 20 years, 10 years from now. And that's why I love this program, because we putting out the word. We got more to do, but keep doing this. It's registering with somebody. And that's all we need is somebody to start this thing going.
See,
What about classes? Is there financial classes like this?
we offer that to the realtors at least once a month. Different places, Cleveland Clinic, some of the banks, we offer that for free. It's free information we're giving out at least once a month. Don't cost anything. Another thought, and this is something that is becoming prevalent. Those who have a little piece of money, a little bit of credit, people are buying acres of land who look like us, 5 acres, 2 acres, 3 acres. And the reason why, if they get a large piece of land, they could put their own house on, the kids can have a house on there, or they could rent out part of the land. Look, if there's a will, there's a way. Just think, I got 5 acres of land. Maybe it's not in Cleveland, maybe it's might be in another state or out in the part of Ohio. You get your land. Then you put your own house on it. And you rent out those other acres to other people. Or you got them for your family member. You guys got your own little compound out in the rural area. It's not new. We did it all in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia for years. We owned, after they let us own some things, we started accumulating this. It's not foreign, but let's give it more thought.
It's almost like Bitcoin, Vince. You could relate to. They only made so many coins, so it's valuable. So it ain't no more real estate being made. You know what I'm trying to say? Ain't no more real estate on the planet. What it is what we got. So if you got a piece of it, that's why it's valuable, because they can't make no more real estate. Okay, just like Bitcoins, he put a limit on the coins, the amount of coins. That's what makes it valuable.
Right. The demand for it, because if you have a short supply and a high demand, it's going to have a higher price.
Yep.
I want to reinforce something that Henry just shared, because those situations are happening now. You have situations where people are acquiring land and they have a communal situation. Okay. And within this community, you have somebody that cuts hair. You have somebody that will do somebody's hair. You got somebody that knows how to grow food. You got all these different ways that we can support each other, but it's tied to the ownership of land. So this needs to be amplified, and we have to start looking at these kinds of things. But on the other hand, we need to get back to where we used to be. Y'all can testify, I'm sure, that when you were growing up, and I think Charles said he's from New York, but Henry, when you grew up in Cleveland, if you were down the street acting a fool, she's sitting on the porch, she see you acting a fool, she gonna chastise you. She might even get to switch. By the time you get home, there's already been a conversation on that landline.
Yeah.
Hank out here acting the fool.
Yeah.
You need to check him. By the time you get home, your mama waiting with the switch too, or she let dad take care of that. The discipline, whatever.
Enforcer.
But what I'm saying is, we had tight knit communities. You knew
Yes,
who
we
the
did.
people next door were.
That's
They
right.
looked out for you. You left the garage door open. Hey, your garage door up. You see what I'm saying? We
Brother,
have
you
to
talk-
get.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying we have to get to a point where we have relationships with each other that we can use to support the community. I'm blessed to live in a subdivision where we have a homeowner association. We all have the same kind of home. We all looked at the same model and made our decisions, but we have a tighter knit community because there's a sense of community based on relationship. And we have to get to a point where we're not scared of the folks next door.
Right.
One of the reasons that they spend so much money on public safety in Cleveland is because we scared of each other. So we okay with them putting more police on the street because somehow we think that that's going to make us safer. But what really makes us safe is having those relationships so that you ain't got to worry about somebody down the street walking in your garage and taking your bicycle out because the garage door was up. That's what we really need to get to.
My brother, you have identified how I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, believe it or not, a metropolis, so to speak, because in our neighborhood is all black folks, no white folks, and there no Italians, none of those Jews, but I knew about them. However, the community that you mentioned and how it was treated, and you walk down the street wrong, or you crossing the street silly, or you doing something wrong, the word gets around. There was no computers. The word gets around. All of a sudden, you get home, and the strap is already waiting for you. You've been doing this. I heard of this. You were down at Mr. Jeff's grocery store, and you took even without talking to me. Oh, I mean, it was a knit community that has been lost. How has been, from my viewpoint, it's been lost, and it's continuing to be lost because of this thing called computer and cell phone. We sit on those devices such that we don't communicate in ways that we're saying we should be communicating.
Yes.
Economic development for ourselves don't exist on a computer. What exists on a computer is for you to buy something from somebody else. And they can be anywhere in the country, but not locally. Certainly not part of what it is you're all about in terms of uplifting our community. I saw it grow through my children who are now aged, they're up there in age, how they got locked into this thing called these fun games, and all of a sudden they evolved into the small little computers and whatever boxes you call them. And now their children are going the same way. Even down to children sitting down and eating their food, they got to have a computer in front of them. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Techno babies. I call them techno babies,
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So there has been an evolvement of things in multiple ways to help distract us from teaching our children all the right things. Because, again, bottom line is, these children and us, we have to not go the route of what the system is telling us to do. You got to find this on the computer. You got to go this way. We had the technology, we had the knowledge to do this, but they had the money to do it and build upon everything that we're talking about. Even these devices that we have that we're talking on now. You don't tell me we didn't have the skill to develop these things. But almighty dollar. And he did not spread it around our community. He went outside our community to buy things, and here we are still talking. And unfortunately, I think this will be 20 years from now. We'll be still talking. Because
want to give a shout out to Champ Henry. Somebody used to call you Champ.
Yeah,
Lord, yes, Lord.
That's my
You know
nickname.
who it is?
It's somebody in the house that still say champ.
Right.
Yes.
Robert Allen
Or Junior.
okay.
Yes,
Robert
sir.
Allen has a question for you. He says, I have a question. How many of you have an account savings checking in, and do you do business with a Black thrift or Black credit union like Faith United Community Credit Union on 93rd and Benham? How many of you have referred people to this credit union that a Black woman ran for 50 years and was proclaimed the Black diva of credit unions in America by President Barack Obama?
Let me start. Not one of those things do I do business with. When I first got to Cleveland about 25 years ago or so, Henry Stoudemire, Sr., and his boy, what's his, I forget the fellow's name that was with him, they were part of the credit union, administrators of the credit union. Always,
James.
huh?
James.
So yeah, faith community, yeah. And so it was a case where that's where you go. And that's where I put my money at. And it was targeted to me by Henry Stoudemire Sr. Put your money here. Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Things change over time. And as that change happens, and the service that I wanted did not exist, even though I had made innuendos to, hey, I need this done, that done, so forth. And so I had to leave. It just did not suit my needs at the time. Did I go back? No. And so in answer to the person that's answering or asking that question, for me, everybody I do, all the entities rather, I do business with are white owned. Bad, good, or indifferent, that's what I need at this juncture. And here I am talking about other things, but again, that's to answer the question honestly and directly. That's me.
Yeah. But go ahead, Henry.
We have money down there. It's our credit union. It belongs to all the Black people who have money down there.
Yes.
This credit union is our credit. It's the largest Black financial institution in the state. So I have money down there. I will always have money down there. I do business with my credit union.
Yeah.
See,
And let's. I'll go ahead. I'm sorry, Vince, but I'm just gonna say one quick thing was it's amazing to me because I got into a debate and I talked about it a little bit in the book, but you know that's the largest financial institution in the state of Ohio, right there on 93rd Street there in Union.
yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
But I was just amazed of that. You know what I mean? In the state of Ohio, y'all. And so I got into the debate and I talk about it a little bit in the book that the one sister was saying, you know, and I said, Dad, we're going backwards. We used to have financial institutions and blah, blah, blah. And she would go on to say, well, no, she didn't agree with me. That we still got it, you know, some Black persons is president of PNC and some this, that, and this, that. No, I said, wait a minute, that ain't the same. If you just managing and having the same type of agreements and programs, that's not helping Black folks. Now that's good for him and his family that he's the president or vice president of PNC. But how is that helping us as a community? Do we have special programs that deal with our system? You know what's going on with, because you know we was still in the locker room where they was already on the playing field.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to have programs that deal with that. So if that Black person that is president of that bank is not putting programs together that's tailored to our specific needs, then how does it benefit for us as a community just because he's president of PNC? If he's just managing the same program, that ain't doing us no benefit.
Precisely, right. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna offer this, and it's just based on information that I've received in the past few years. Bankers are running the world. You look at the Bank for International Settlements, it's the central bank of all central banks, you know, and there are tight controls on money. I think Robert Allen was asking, do either of us, Brother Hamtonio, have our money in one of those institutions? And I will be transparent and say at one time, I had money in the Antioch Baptist Church Credit Union. Okay, I did that. At the same time, I was working for an insurance company that I'm not going to name right now, but the insurance company had a credit union, and I still have an account with that credit union, and I got a few dollars in it. So it was just the way things rolled out. Do I think it's a great idea for us to have our own credit union and have our money in that credit union, and that money is available, you know, for people to borrow and so forth and so on? Absolutely. You know, but again, I'm also cognizant of the fact that things are changing now in our world's financial systems. And within the past month, Wall Street has moved to the blockchain. You got companies like BlackRock and others that they're talking about tokenizing assets, and everything is moving into digital assets. Real world assets are being digitized. So while we have this conversation about our money is actually changing. It has been digital, you know, it has been digital, but it's moving into a completely new system. So as we talk about having money on reserve and tied up in banks and everything, I think it's also important for us to think about being our own bank, and we have the ability to do that now with the awareness that we have. And that knowledge can enable us to acquire real estate so that it can do what it can do for us. But we just have to be aware, just like you're having these workshops with realtors, Henry, and others. We need to have workshops with our people so that they know this new financial system. Because if you don't know it, you're going to get left in dust. I know Brother Antonio is aware of cryptocurrency because he's involved in a platform that's growing money for him right now. And there are other vehicles like that that will enable you to grow money. But if you don't have an awareness of them, you can't benefit from them. So we really have to raise the bar on financial awareness and information so that we can take advantage of it. Because one of the things about this new digital paradigm is that it levels the playing field. It provides access to folk in kind of a similar way, a real estate investment trust. With a REIT, you don't actually own the property. Somebody else owns and manages the properties, but they share dividends with you. So that's an easy way to get into real estate. Just, you know, get the ETF. You can do that, but you know, you can get an even greater benefit when you own property and you have that income as passive income. The REIT is passive income because they send you dividend checks every so often. But when you have property, you know, I got friends, bro, you know, and Henry, I know you know this because my friend Greg had me going down to Florida March and April and February playing golf with cats, and half of them had real estate. And they didn't schedule the golf trips at the first of the month because they needed to be in Cleveland so that they could get their money.
All right.
And you're right. And I have to really thank Antonio for introducing me to that investment. I put some money over there and I trust you and look at that money growing. It's digitized. So we diversify. Still got money in faith. And I put some money with Antonio. That works. And so I thank you for doing that. And I'm telling my friends, you probably getting phone calls. They want to get involved in it too because it works. So put $1,000 and all of a sudden it's $1,800 a month later. Well, I like that. I would never have known about it if you didn't tell me about it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, we don't, you know, like Vince said, we go into the digital way of doing things, whether we like it or not. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you can see they lining it up. Have our listeners, you know, look up the Genius Act that Trump put up play. Look up the Clarity Act that Trump put up in play. You can see they lining themselves up with this whole digital piece, man. And this is where we're going, whether we like it or not. Let me tell you what I did too, because I'm trying to do my best to play chess, you know, instead of playing checkers, you know what I mean? And trying to see where they're going with it, what would happen, what's a plan A, B, and C, you know what I mean, just in case. So it's no secret that people know that I may be thinking about, you know, moving as far as the motherland is concerned, you know. And so my question was, something came up and one of Trump's cabinet members or whatever talked about getting rid of dual citizenship. You know, you're going to be committed to America or you're going to be committed. You know, Trump was on this little trip on that, you know. So I said, okay, let me see what would happen if they you know, tell you to make a choice between You gonna be in America or you gonna be over here? So I started Googling around. I said, okay, if I denounce my citizenship, do that stop my picture in my social security?
Yeah.
I said, do that stop that? You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, but it said no. In most cases, they said no.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, just in case A, B, C, plan A, B, C, and D down the road. You know what I mean? So, but we got to be prepared and start thinking like playing chess instead of playing chess. Where is they trying to go with this? Where will we end up with this? Vince, all the time we talked about what's that the government give you what's it called? I can't even think right.
Reparations.
What's that?
Well, no, the when you have like games like a base government-based money, funding where they give you a stipend.
Oh, you're talking about universal basic income.
Universal basic, yes, yeah. So if we're gonna come to that, then how you gonna feed yourself and things of that nature? That's the question, you see. So that's where we at. So you got to start playing chess. Okay, if it comes to that, what I'm going to have, and like what we was talking about in the subject matter right now, having your own land or real estate or something is going to come right into play with all of that.
Yeah,
having a place to stay, having some land to grow some food on, or something to that nature.
Just quickly, because I got another text from Mr. Allen. He says, here's where my favorite investment opportunity strategy is at. Cryptocurrency and digital assets, DeFi, which is decentralized finance platforms, non-fungible tokens, NFTs, tokenized assets and digital securities, fintech and digital banking innovations, cryptocurrency mining and staking. It's phenomenal to me that a person of his age, and I'm not casting any dispersions, but it's impressive to me that he even knows about these things, because most of us, if you said NFT, someone would say NF what?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
What's a token? What's a DAO? We don't know these things, and so we don't get the benefit that comes along with the awareness and the implementation. And that's where it has to come. Just like you can implement a real estate investment strategy, you got to have investment strategies on other things. There are different ETFs that you can get into that are good because they're going to develop passive income streams for you. So you got a lot of options. But again, just to reinforce the notion that you have to be aware of digital assets. They're pushing away from calling it cryptocurrency, because crypto, it has this stigma to it. When you think crypto, you think cryptic, and if you think cryptic, you think that it's something that's it's clandestine. It's not understood by everybody. The new terminology is digital assets, and everything is going to be digitized. So just think of it in terms of digital assets. And I'm going to make this pledge. We're going to provide more information about the digital asset world in the coming weeks, because again, we have to know these things, and you can marry your awareness of digital assets with investing in real estate. And this is one of the things that will enable us to get ahead while the world's economies are being destroyed. Fiat currency is becoming a thing of the past, and they want to increase their control of us through currency. This is why we have to control our currency.
Absolutely.
And it's just like gold. If you hold it, you own it. You got that. You got to hold your gold, folks. That's where the real is. We're at 2 hours, folks, and I got to get over to the Phyllis Wheatley Association so we can put up some microphones for Mr. Chandler to do his lecture.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate Brother Bond. Give us the contact information again.
216-346-6856. Financial Home Solutions, LLC.
All right. Brother Henry?
McMullen Realty, since 1962, 216-991-8100.
Yeah, well, that number, woo, that number been running a long time.
Guaranteed, I can tell you.
Long time.
Uh-huh.
And my closing remarks, you know, like again, this is so necessary for us because it's always been an economic disparity for Black folks since we've been over here. It's always been an issue. We always was trying to get into the game, left out the game, redlining. When they was giving away land, we wasn't in that line, you know. So that's why folks are ahead of us. You see, nobody wanted to talk about that history. Just like I gave the example of the Beechwood situation. They had land, they was growing on it because agriculture was the number one thing back then. And that's how they was able to counterpart ahead of us as Black folk. Even when we went out, here's this, even when we went out and fought and died for it and fought in every war that this country got into, we was there helping all the way with our adventures and everything, and they still shut the door on you. And we still neglecting to come together and circle the wagons for ourselves to do something. That's some psychosis on us, and we have to break that psychosis bond and get into what our ancestors have put out for us to teach you what a family is, what a community is, and your responsibilities. They lay that all down on the line. But the man has got you to the point to where you won't look that way. And we got folks that won't even talk about they ain't African and want to separate us on that. That's another game that they're playing. We the first, we don't taught everybody, we don't went across the world, give them civilization and teach the civilization to everybody. So you had to know God and spirituality first because you were the first. And don't forget to pick up my book, Conscious Policing from Amazon.
All right. Yeah.
Conscious Policing, To Be or Not to Be, a conscientious self-reflection guide for Blacks in law enforcement by Mr. L.C. Hampton is right there. Get your copy today.
All right.
Want to thank everybody for tuning in. We got 11 folks who are online with us right now. If you're online with us, do us a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything, and we're not going to hound you or anything like that. We ain't going to ask you for any money. Just go ahead and hit the subscribe button and share this information so that others get the benefit of this knowledge and awareness that we're bringing to you. I know Brother Hampton is having issues with his YouTube channel, but you can still go to the Journey with Hamptonio and hit that subscribe button. You can also go to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and like it. Make a comment like our friend Simi and Linda Young and Medusa Sunshine 4705 Cinnamon. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate your input on the show. A big shout out to Robert Allen. My apologies, couldn't get to everything that you sent me, but trust and believe I will read it, and what I can share, I will share. And with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us today and look forward to seeing you next week. 360 Info Network on AM 1490 WERE, YouTube, and Facebook. Until then, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Make today your absolute best day. Peace, everyone.
Peace, brother.
Peace.